Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, Elon Musk has decided to go scorched earth as it pertains to billionaire Bill Gates, essentially implying that Bill Gates was buddies with Jeffrey Epstein, who of course was a well-known pedophile, who luckily is no longer with us. But nonetheless, we'll get to more of what Elon had to say in a second. But first, let's give you a little bit of context, because to be fair, Bill Gates isn't clean in all of this. Bill Gates has been attacking Elon Musk incessantly, aggressively, and for the most part, Elon Musk didn't respond until now. So earlier this month, for instance, Gates took aim at Musk and DOGE, by the way, for cutting USAID or USAID. In an interview with the Financial Times, here's what Gates said. "The picture of the world's richest man killing the world's poorest children is not a pretty one." Gates went on to say he'd love for him, meaning Elon Musk, to go in and meet the children that have now been infected with HIV because he cut American aid that had been going to a hospital in Mozambique. Now, according to Gates, removing or weakening that kind of infrastructure, especially in areas where children are in desperate need, of course, has deadly consequences. He further elaborated, saying in an interview with CNN, "I think if you show up and say, in 2 months, you can cut $2 trillion out of a $7 trillion budget, you're not going to succeed. So you go for the softest things and things that are overseas that you can mischaracterize, people that he hasn't spent any time with." Gates said that while Musk is a genius in some domains, in global health, it hasn't been a focus. He added, "If it was a modest cut and a challenge to be more efficient, I'm fine with that. But 80%, that's going to be millions of deaths, and it's a mistake." Now, initially, Elon Musk didn't lose his mind over this. He simply responded with, "Gates is a huge liar." But during an interview with BBC, he decided to reignite, the BBC's Mishal Husain decided to reignite their feud. So let's take a look at that.
I do want to ask you about USAID and the comments that Bill Gates made the other day, which, and I know that you called him.
Yeah, he's a huge liar.
I know you've said that already. I wondered, and I'm just.
Who does Bill Gates think he is to make comments about the welfare of children, given that he frequented Jeffrey Epstein?
Okay, well, he said he regrets those, and he spent a lot of his own money on philanthropy around the world over the years. My question to you is, have you looked at the data to check if he might be right that the cuts to USAID might cost millions of lives?
Yes. I'd like him to show us any evidence whatsoever that is true. It's false.
Okay, so for the purposes of this discussion, we're gonna focus on the allegation made in regard to his ties, meaning Bill Gates's ties to Jeffrey Epstein. It is true, according to the New York Times, Gates started to become associated with Jeffrey Epstein after Epstein had been convicted of sex crimes. Now, Gates claimed that he only met with Jeffrey Epstein a few times in the hopes of raising money for a deal in regard to global health issues. He told Anderson Cooper back in 2021, "I had several dinners with him, hoping that what he said about getting billions of philanthropy for global health through contracts that he had might emerge. When it looked like that wasn't a real thing, that relationship ended. It was a huge mistake to spend time with him to give him the credibility of being there." So Cenk, what do you think? Do you think that, there's no there with Bill Gates and Elon Musk is just kind of exploiting the fact that he had dinner in a fundraising mission with Epstein?
Yeah, I have no idea, and I don't know how anyone would know. Okay, so if we're gonna play that game of who knew Jeffrey Epstein, well, Donald Trump definitely knew Jeffrey Epstein. In fact, he said they were terrific friends. In fact, Donald Trump said that he knew that Jeffrey Epstein liked them young. Bill Clinton We're bipartisan. We don't care. Okay, Bobby Kennedy Jr. Tons and tons of people have met with Epstein, and by the way, the women have met with Epstein. Like Alan Dershowitz went and had a really nice massage in his shorts. Apparently, that's what he says. I'm just quoting him, right, or paraphrasing him. I don't want to get it wrong in any way, right? And then his wife was there, so that actually gives Dershowitz credibility, right? At least his wife was there. So I'm saying that. I don't know, maybe there are innocent people. Are there people who met Jeffrey Epstein in their life who didn't do something wrong? Of course, right? So are there people who met Jeffrey Epstein who did something terrible with or without their shorts? Yes. We don't know which ones did it because they won't release the Epstein files, right? So now, I actually care a lot less about that. If you've had evidence of whether it's Bill Gates or Bill Clinton or Donald Trump, then I care a lot about it, right? But right now we don't have that evidence. So what we do have the evidence of is, did Elon Musk cut USAID? Yes. Is it going to harm a lot of people across the world? Definitely. Is it going to kill millions? That seems like a big statement. I'm not sure that it's going to kill millions. Could it affect millions? Yes. That's already devastating. Will it kill some? Yes. That's already devastating. And now look at the other side of the coin. Bill Gates is giving away all of his money. And I know there's all these conspiracy theories and the 5G and the virus, whatever the hell that people think. But all that is gobbledygook, right? Him actually fighting for all of these great causes, education, healthcare across the world, is real. He actually did spend that money, and that money did help people with a lot less money than him, the poor, the middle class, etc. So between Bill Gates, look, we are asking kind of mischievously in the live show here, show's live 6 o'clock Eastern. Do you enjoy it when billionaires have beef? Okay, but for me, putting aside the fun of it, I don't think that this is a close question. I think Bill Gates so far has done infinitely more for humanity than Elon Musk. Not close. I think Elon Musk has done damage. I think Bill Gates has done positive things.
Yeah, definitely. And Bill Gates is correct in noting that the cut on some USAID programs is going to cause damage to people across the globe, especially in African countries that are affected by malaria and things like that. And so it's just the fact of the matter. Elon Musk didn't like being called out, which is why he lashed out by mentioning, Gates's alleged ties with Jeffrey Epstein.
Every time you ring the bell below, an angel gets his wings. Totally not true, but it does keep you updated on our live shows.